Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me once again today, and welcome to High Strategy Urukon. This is a little indie game that just released recently, just I believe a couple of weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. It's very new. I was sent this by the developer, Iron Boar Labs. I get sent a number of these games, not a huge number, I'm not that big, but you know, a couple a week generally. Most of them I don't play. I don't know what that was that just flickered up, but okay. Most of them I don't play because they're either not the kind of thing that I'm interested in or they're not very good. Of the ones that I do play, some of them are interesting enough that I think, okay, let's show this off on the channel. And High Strategy Urukon is one of those. Mainly because it's a very different kind of game than most computer, like, 4X games are. Urukon, the main draw obviously is the mechanics, which are very simple and well done. I actually really like this game so far. I've only played it for a few hours, so I kind of wanted to get this in while my impressions were still relatively fresh. Also, look at this loading screen art. The giant, like, sculpture head buried in the sand. Little dude over here. So there is a little bit of story behind Urukon. It's bare bones, but it's there. Urukon is an alien world. It's inhabited by all kinds of different races, most of which are very unpleasant, and it's been caught in like this cycle of violence for a long time. Probably, I want to say tens of thousands or millions of years. Most mineral resources are depleted, and you guys are kind of the latest wave of conflict, so to speak. So let's jump into a new game, and I'll talk about things as we go. When you click New Game, you're taken to this screen here. You see, it's fairly simplistic. There's a whole bunch of different factions. You've got the Cult of the Present, the Vermilion Court, Western Margraves, Eastern Margraves, the Unbroken Path, Malahar, etc., etc. The Fist, Goras Mog, Dakal, the Rockbreaker Empire. You can click on these guys. They'll show you a little bit of information, and they'll also show what your goal is, and what you need to get bronze, silver, or gold tier, as well as your time limit and any previous bests. So the Rockbreaker Empire, for example, is a slave uprising, but that succeeded because Dakal, the nation that controlled them, had expanded too far and was exhausted and couldn't stop them, so they took over, and they're now huge. Dakal, right here, incidentally, is right here. They're small. They have a special rule. They cannot take cities from Goras Mog. They have a different goal. They want to control entire regions. The gold tier is 6, which is very hard, in 500 turns. So every faction has their own unique goal, which does not require painting the map. And they have a specific time limit. My first game, which I won, I played the Republic of Nowhere. My goal was to complete landmarks. Every turn, they could turn adjacent independent cities voluntarily towards the Republic. I had 400 turns. I did succeed, so I got the gold. It tells me that I got the gold there. Within those 400 turns, I just barely squeaked in under the time limit. I think I was like 380-some turns in. Let's play. So that was medium, and that was challenging, but I got it done. So let's jump into another medium one, shall we? Just to kind of see how things go. Let's go with... Incidentally, by the way, this is land, this is ocean. There are underwater... Oh, I right-clicked instead of left-clicking. Doing that will just automatically take you back a step. There are underwater factions, and we'll talk about that in a second. Acquire citizens belonging to the Feverling culture. Interesting. I mean, that could be interesting. Let's jump into, like, something that's a little relatively self-contained. How about Zalanica? So we want to control specially marked cities. 1, 3, or 5, 450 turns. Okay, let's jump in, and we will turn on the quick tutorial. So, this is who you are, how well the goal is going. Right now we're at 0 of 1. These are your resources. You need them to play actions. There are, as you can see, 9 different resources, and they're all quite abstracted. You have labor, goods, devices, or mechanisms, as I consistently and thoughtlessly refer to them, history, secrets, violence, depth, love, and fear. All of these are generated by different actions. So you click on an action or press its number. S means shift. I'm not sure why shift should be relevant because... Oh, yeah, you can use the numbers as shortcuts. Okay, I see that. I never did that before. The rest is details. These buttons will help. That will give you information about different things. So basically, here's how the game works. You have 450 turns, right? You can only perform one action per turn. Most actions essentially transmute one resource into another. So, to go through the list. Respond is used to defend your locations. All of these are locations that I own. And that's my capital city right there. I have a Kashok, I have 8 cities, I have no relics. You can see my goal, I want to control specially marked cities. All my resources, my income, this middle one is my passive income. And this one is the far right is the income that I generate. And you can see more details about all the resources here. Manual labor, wealth, devices, tools, and instructions, technology, history, so knowledge, information, secret information. This is essentially troops, violence, ability to achieve your goals by force. Depth is a special resource that's used to go underwater. That's all it's good for. Love is goodwill, people who like you, and fear is the opposite, intimidation. Right now, you start with a certain base amount of each. I feel like the triangle is probably the mark for the specially marked cities. I think that's what it is, but I can't prove that. But I'm going to assume it. I think that's accurate. So, and each city has a little region thing, which tells you like what things about the area that it's in, and then some of them also have landmarks, which are special things that you can build, and they will give you this effect once you build them. So, actions. Respond is used to defend your cities against attacks. It generally costs violence, and use it to stop other people from using the capture action. You use it to stop certain random events. Trade, when you click on trade, you can trade with any of the cities that you border that are owned by somebody, and trade allows you to transmute one resource into another. Generally speaking, you can trade for pretty much anything except for fear, love, and I think depth. I don't think you can trade for depth, but you can't trade for love or fear, at least I have never seen that. Any of the other 6 can be traded. Recruit is used on your cities, and once again, you transmute one resource into another. Generally, I've seen love and fear you can use as recruitment resources. You can also use history or goods as recruitment resources sometimes, and occasionally devices. You recruit violence, labor. I think that's basically it. You use it. That's the main way to generate those two. So over here, for example, I have 1,000 fear. Here I could use 500 fear to recruit 500 labor. Here I could use 800 love to recruit 800 labor. And then these that are grayed out, I don't have the appropriate resources. This city, since it's larger, as seen by the size of the circle, would allow me to recruit a much larger amount of violence, but I would need 1.8 thousand love to do that, so I can't, because I don't have that much love. Nurture is used on your own cities. It costs goods, labor, devices, or sometimes history. It generates love, and it also increases the prosperity of your cities, which increases your income. Steal is used on adjacent cities. You use steal. Steal costs violence or depth if you're interacting with underwater cities, and it takes some resource plus fear. It can take labor, it can take goods, it can take devices, it can take history, it can take secrets. I don't think it can take violence, and it can't take love, or probably depth. Infiltrate, you use it on, it costs secrets, you use it on adjacent cities, and it is used to make capturing them easier. It lowers the amount of violence you need to capture a city. So, adjacency, by the way, is these dotted lines. Those dotted lines determine where you can go. So, this city, this city, this city, this city, and this city are all adjacent to me. And you spend secrets, and it gives you a random amount of infiltration in the city. If it succeeds, there is a chance of failure. The number will reduce the violence cost of capturing that city by that percentage, and they do stack. It degrades slowly over time, and if you ever fail your roll, it's like a 75%, 80% success chance, then all of your infiltration is immediately removed. Capture spends violence or depth in order to take a city. So depth is essentially, I think, violence underwater, basically. And you also have to spend a certain amount of mechanisms depending on the size of the city when you try to conquer it. If the enemy has violence, they can use the respond action. Responding is, at least in my experience, responding seems to be a little cheaper than capturing. So generally, the attacker has a bit of a disadvantage. You have to have more violence than the enemy in order to take it over. So down here you can see, this would cost 1.7 thousand violence to attack this city, plus 170 mechanisms. It also says versus 1.0k. That's how many the other person has. So Daklamon here, we can look at their resources. They also have 1,000 violence, because they start off just like us. So I can't attack that city, because I don't have enough violence. I could attack this city. It would cost me 1.3 thousand depth. They only have 1,000 depth in the bank. So I could probably just take this city right now from the Drowners League. They're generating 54 depth per turn, and I only generate 3 depth per turn. So that's gonna get worse. Negotiate is used to peacefully integrate a city. Basically, you're just taking a city by convincing them to change sides. It typically costs a bunch of resources. The amount is different depending on who it is that you're negotiating with, the population of the city, what they're made up of, and how big the city is. So basically, just the numbers of people in there. You cannot negotiate with the capital city to join you. So you can see down here, like, negotiating with this city would take 1,500 fear, 1,000 love, about 800 secrets, and 260 history. These cities require secrets and a little tiny bit of goods, plus a lot of love, like a lot of love, and a lot of history as well to get them to join me. Build is used on cities that have the little bar beside them. That means they have a special landmark. So right now I have 2 potential landmarks. One is the Haunted Bastion, which gives me plus 160 secrets per turn. And the other is the Monstrous Edifice, which gives me plus 100 depth per turn. Now, see, this is progress 0 out of 25,000. Build requires 1,000 labor, and it commits 1,000 labor to that job. You have to hit whatever the requirement is. So I would have to use the build action 25 times to construct the Monstrous Edifice, and then it would give me plus 100 depth per turn. And similarly over here, I would need 28,000 labor for 160 secrets. Excavate also costs labor. You use Excavate on one of your own cities. It has a small percentage chance to turn up a relic, which is a special, powerful thing. I have never actually seen one so far in the one game that I've played. And it also generates some random small amount of other resources. It can be profitable, it can be unprofitable. Overall, I preferred, I think, to commit my labor to building edifices, building landmarks, rather than excavating. But in this game, I might excavate, just for fun. And then, of course, you can pass, in which case you do nothing. The key thing is, you only get 1 action per turn, and you only have X number of turns to succeed. So that's your big limiter. Actually, I guess these are the specially marked cities, maybe. Like that little symbol there. So you do have a fairly comprehensive how to play. You've got the basic concepts, the world. Yeah, Urukon, the first civilization rose and fell over 1 million years ago. Accessible mineral resources were exhausted. The current cycle is limited to fighting its wars with rock and bone. You have various different factions, cities, resources, victory. You have different actions. This gives you more details about all of the actions. So recruit gives you labor, violence, or depth. Trade exchanges resources. Nurture generates love, increases prosperity, which modifies resource yields and population growth. Steal takes resources and causes fear. Infiltrate, etc. All this stuff that I just said is also visible there. You can also see the various different cultures, of which there are a lot, and the cultures determine what resource each city generates. So right now you can see, I can look at demographics. So this city, for example, has 61,000 Mugats, 12,000 Beasts of Burden, and 4,000 Palace Lords. And as a result of that, it yields this every turn. Mostly labor, and that's because Beasts of Burden generate a lot of labor, primarily. But it also yields a reasonable amount of violence, a reasonable number of goods, and then a reasonable number of devices, and then a smattering of other resources. The only thing it doesn't generate is depth. Coveto has water casts, and as a result, it yields a little bit of depth, as does Pakal. So Pakal also has some water casts. But to generate depth passively, so you can see my passive income over here, mostly I generate a lot of labor, I generate a reasonable amount of violence, devices, and goods. Everything else is lower, I generate very little depth. I can't trade for depth. Probably these 2 cities are going to be the only places I can trade for and successfully take depth. But yeah, I think... Control specially marked cities. It doesn't tell me what the mark is, but I suspect... I strongly suspect that the mark is this. So, Fumin, Gullet, Aum, Calandria, Saganix, Usini, I'm not sure. My ultimate goal is, I think, 6? No, it's 5. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have to control all 5 of those cities, so woof. That's a lot of expansion. I'm going to have to focus a lot on building up stuff to capture and or negotiate. This turn, the important thing is going to be to start building up the resources that I need. What I think I'm going to do is actually... nurturing probably wouldn't be a bad call, because of course, since your resources are based on population, increasing your population growth and your prosperity increases your passive income, which can be nice. You also have this control stat. Control governs the maximum amount of yields you can get. So in Zolonica, it's 2 steps away from my capital, which means I can only get 80% of the possible yields from this city. If I increase my control, which I can do with the nurture action, let's just do that real quick, just to show you. Boom. So I spent a turn, I nurtured, everybody else also took 1 action. So this city now has equilibrium control of 84, so my current control is drifting up towards that. It also has plus 19 prosperity, and so my income has now gone up. And once I hit my maximum control of 84, you can see that my yields will go up slightly more even. So you can use nurturing. You're basically converting a resource into love plus more passive income. Passive income is fairly small though. Mostly you're going to want to take actions to score income. So Saganix is probably the easiest of my objectives to reach. It's controlled by the Night Kingdom. Mostly Night Apes. Night Apes, if I recall, yield a lot of history, I think. Let's look at culture real quick. So Night Apes... Yes, Night Apes yield 2 history per 10,000 of them. And then it gives you also all the costs to use the different actions on a city, including these people, based on, per 10,000 residents. In order to, for example, capture them, you have to spend 650 violence per 10,000, plus potentially 130 depth, if they're underwater, I guess. So, let's, tell you what. If we're trying to get to Saganix, we're going to have to basically attack the Night Kingdom. They do also have Holot here. Holot has the Hidden Castle, which increases violence costs to capture it. It's not completed yet, so I don't have to worry about that, but I don't want them to complete that, because it'll make it a lot harder to take this place. And it already takes 1,700 violence. So I want to build up some violence right now. So since I just got a whole bunch of love, I'm going to convert some love to violence. And the Night Kingdom is building here. They're working on completing this landmark. They have, in terms of resources, they have 1,100 violence. I have 2,300 violence, so I could capture this city right now. They wouldn't probably be able to stop me. But in the process, I would go down to about 600 violence, and then they would be able to counterattack me, potentially. And I wouldn't be able to stop them. So it's worth either trading or recruiting, trying to get some more violence. We can see about recruiting here. I could turn goods into violence. I could turn love into violence. These tend to stay the same for a couple of turns and then shift. They're fairly predictable, but not entirely. So if I could trade for goods, that would probably be ideal. So I'm going to trade my mechanisms away for 1,000 goods right there. And then I'm going to use those goods to recruit another 1,500 violence. We look at their resources now. Now they have 2,300 violence. They probably saw that I was recruiting and decided to up the ante. I'm going to hit this province right here with a couple infiltrates to lower the cost of attacking it. So we got 5% there. Let's infiltrate again. Oh, we were caught, so we lost that. Someone was trading with me, and as a result, I received a trade fee. That doesn't come out of the trade. It's just extra. You're trading with the civilian population when you use that action, so it doesn't affect these balances up here. But whoever was traded with gets a little bit of a bonus. Let's try to infiltrate another couple times. Damn, they're good at catching me. I am distraught. They also keep recruiting, so they're up to 3,400 violence. Let's do a little bit of nurturing, I guess. Build up some more love. Receive some trade fees, we got some history. I don't quite have the love to recruit more. Ooh, 3,100 goods for 2,400 violence. That would kind of be nice. I'll tell you what. I'm going to spend a couple of turns excavating. Got a decent chance for a relic over here, so let's excavate. I excavated some fear, hilariously. So excavating in Hustig apparently gives me fear, which is kind of funny. So I'm up to 1.8 thousand fear. I could convert that fear directly back into construction. They are really building that up. They're at 15,000 out of 18,000. Our violence is pretty close at this point. And I need more love in order to get any violence from recruiting. I can't trade for any violence. I could trade for some goods. Let's trade for some goods. I need more of those, too. There we go. There's some more violence. He's at 3.7, I'm at 6, so we're gonna try to infiltrate one more time. That was 15, that was pretty good. So let's go into capture. It'll take me 1.5 thousand. So he let me have it, actually. He didn't respond. He had the resources to do it, but he decided it wasn't worth the cost, probably. So I've now captured Hollot. My control is low, which means the place is going to be relatively easy to get back away from me, but that's okay for the moment. We have, the landmark is almost completed, actually. In terms of negotiation, we can't really negotiate with everybody. That is Daklemon's capital. They have 3.8 thousand violence, I have 4.8. You can't infiltrate capitals. I'm tempted to try and go in, but it cost me 7.7 thousand violence to go in against them, which means I would need to recruit some more. If I can build up 7.7 thousand violence before they do, I can just roar right in and take this out, and that will collapse the entire nation, so all of their cities will become independent. That would probably be ideal. So let's trade some history for violence over there. We're at 6.2. They're recruiting, but they're only at 3.9. Goods. Can I trade for goods? Trade for goods. So, one of my cities is threatened. I can respond to this, and it will cost me violence. It will actually cost me a lot of violence, so that's a pain in the ass. I don't know what it takes to negotiate with my own city here. Demographics, mostly Mugats. That's a big city. That is a big city. Negotiating to get it back. Yeah, a lot of love, a lot of fear, a lot of history. That sucks. Okay, I have to respond to that. So I've stopped that. I neutralized that, but it cost me a whole bunch of my accumulated violence, and so now we're dead even with Daklemon. That's a pain. Let's build this thing up real quick. I want to try and make it impractical for him to take this back by force. So we will recruit... There we go. So we've completed that landmark, the Hidden Castle. So now it costs an extra 1.5 thousand violence to capture this city. So as long as I can hold on to it, I should be fine. He's recruited a whole bunch more violence than me, though, so that's bad. Let's try to level that out. Daklemon is burning a lot of their resources recruiting, but they have a ton of history in the bank, as well as quite a lot of devices. They're low on love and fear, though, so they probably can't recruit a lot more at the moment. I have 1,000 fear, but I don't have any places where I can recruit violence with fear. I can only really recruit violence with goods and with love. So that's a little bit of a pain. I could use some of my violence here to steal a whole bunch of goods, and then convert those goods back into violence. Because if I steal... Yeah, that's probably worth it. Let's do that a couple times, and then convert those goods back into violence. Overall, I think I a little bit more than broke even on that. Yeah, I'm at 5.9. He's at 7.2. Once you've recruited from a city, recruitment cooldown starts, and you can't recruit from there again for a while. But like I said, recruitment is fairly stable and predictable. Let's get... I would like more love, I think. So let's do a little bit of converting. I've been raided. He was stealing from me, the bastard. How dare they steal from me when all I've been doing is taking all their shit for no good reason. So he's attacking me here. I can respond. It will cost me 1.5 thousand. Yeah, they had to spend a lot of violence to do that, so I'm absolutely going to respond. And now I think I actually have the violence advantage. I do. I just have to build up to that 7.7 thousand, and I can knock Daklamon completely out of the game. Let's get a little bit more violence. What is he down to? 648. Yeah, this is not a good trade for him. So we've responded again. Well, now I'm going to capture one of his cities. I'm just going to capture that city right there. That's yielding a little bit of everything to me. And Daklamon is, yeah, down to 700 violence. I still have 2.5 thousand. I can't quite capture that. I need 3.1 thousand. What do I need to recruit? I need goods. Goods is really the thing that I need to recruit if I don't have love. Actually, down here I can trade for some violence, so I'm gonna trade for some violence, and then immediately use that violence to take out this city, I think, because I don't think he's built up enough to be a threat. Yeah. Let's do it. There we go. It is a little funny that the civilian population will trade with you even when you're at war with their government, but, you know, that kind of thing happens all the time in history. Let's do a little bit more excavation, just for fun. Excavate up some more fear. I can use fear to recruit labor still, but there's still no place I can use fear to recruit troops. Could trade for secrets? That's not really important. Let's do a little bit of nurturing. Good, I can nurture with mechanisms there. Let's do that, because otherwise I'm not really using those for anything. So I'll just burn them all down, turn them into love. I'll do a little bit of nurturing with goods here, I think. Nah, I mean, I'd rather use my goods to recruit, because it's closer to an even swap. Like, right here, I can make an even swap of goods for violence. And using it to nurture is less efficient, albeit still sometimes worthwhile. But if I can get this, I'm trying to get Saganix before I end this first episode. So I need 2.9 violence to take that. He's building up his violence again. I'm having a little bit of trouble getting it. Ooh, all of a sudden this has popped up a mechanisms for violence trade. That sucks. If only I had known. But, you know what? These things happen. I can't trade with anyone for goods. I could steal a whole bunch of secrets, but I don't really need secrets. I'll tell you what. I'm not using my depth right now, so I'm going to use some depth to steal a whole bunch of goods. That does damage my relations a little bit with the Drowners League, but it's not a big deal. Use that to recruit a whole bunch of violence. He's got 1,000, I've got 2,000, I need 2.9. Which means I need, once again, more love. Yeah, at this point it's love, pretty much. Or goods, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get enough goods. So, yeah, let's turn what we can into love here. Where's my good ratios, my high numbers? That's a high number. Heavy storms in Tashok. So in Tashok here, you can see... it should normally tell me that. This is the capital city. Okay, so there's the city. So heavy storms, all actions on this city cost 50% more for 8 turns. These things happen, I can't really do anything about that. But I can turn my love into violence. Now he's got 2.6 thousand, I've got 3.5 thousand, but I don't have enough mechanisms to take this city because I've used them all. Let me swap for some mechanisms right there, and see if I can take Saganix. I have successfully taken Saganix. So, I've achieved my goal. That was one of the marked cities. I've captured it. I have now hit the bronze tier. So if I were to end right now, I would at least have accomplished the bronze tier. I got that in 50 turns. The others are going to be a lot more difficult, though. What is the landmark in Alanu? Negotiating for the owner's cities in the Dreamer's Bog costs plus 30%. Okay, so that's a nice little defensive bonus. But in any case, this has been about half an hour. So this shows you kind of the gameplay loop of this game. The one action per turn, board game style, very abstract grand strategy thing. Honestly, I kind of like it. It's very much a different thing from the normal, like, map-painty Civilization 4X games. It's interesting. You can see over here where people are fighting, so like right now we have the Tribe of the Star and the Chirping Tribe are fighting over these cities up here. The Silent Tribe is... These are all giant blood-sucking ticks, by the way. They're gorgers. This crater is entirely gorgers, this, like, forest area. Horrifying. Pretty honestly horrifying. But yeah, that's pretty much how the game goes. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I really enjoy it. One game lasts a few hours. It's not something that takes a ton of time investment, and it's a lot of fun. So, you know what? Check it out. I'll put a link in the description below if it's the kind of thing you're interested in. Take a look at it. And I may play more of it on the channel. I may not. I'm not sure. It's not the most visually interesting thing, but the stories are kind of interesting. Like, you know, Zelanica here. It's essentially a colony that has broken free. Like, this is America to the Vermilion Court's Britain. It is kind of funny that the Vermilion Court is way the fuck over here, but the Vermilion Court is the last remnants of the huge empire that controlled the whole world and then fragmented, basically. Like, this is a fragment of it, the hegemony. This is a fragment. This is a former client state, these two. This is the slave rebellion we were talking about. These two are former client states. That's a military fraction of the empire. Etc., etc. And so, you know, we're kind of spreading back out, trying to tell our own story on this million-year-old, resource-depleted world. It's an interesting thought. The Drowners League here is made up of pirates and plunderers, primarily Rarosh and Sea Wardens. I don't know what Rarosh are. I haven't looked at all of the different cultures, but there are many different cultures. Many different, like, variable little things that affect the game. And you can see, for example, just by taking those 3 cities, my labor income has gone way up, because night apes. My history income, actually, I think that's what night apes do, right? Let's look at night apes again. Night apes generate history, labor, so, you know, my history income is slowly creeping up, my labor income is creeping up. We're getting better at stuff, but, of course, because, like, Saganix is way the hell far away from my capital, my equilibrium control is quite low, so I'm not going to get as much yield from it as I would if I were closer. If I were closer, I would be getting about double this once I hit my max control. Same with Vladimir. You know, it's far away, so I don't get as much from it, which is kind of an anti-painting the map measure. Like, once I get over to here, like Calandria is... Oh god, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 8 steps away. My equilibrium control there is going to be nothing. About 20. And that's about as far as you could reasonably expand. If you expand any further, you literally don't get anything from the cities. There's no point. But in any case, thanks for watching. Hopefully this is interesting to you. I know this game is interesting to me. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care.